Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about Visit to the Unknown from Tensei Shitara Slime Talk, and so without any ado let's begin. Visit to the Unknown, 10 Manifestation of Evil and the Super Beast Raid Part 2. Fyodora looked at the Emperor and declared coldly. Don't worry, Your Majesty. Kristoff may have died, but he will not go to waste. He will be reborn as a stronger bionoid, he said. And then Fyodora produced a sphere, which he then set into Kristoff's chest. Your Majesty. It is true that the machinery for your greatest works have wonderful capabilities. The auto-healing ability allows them to regenerate, and then there is the incredible durability brought by the special alloy. They can use space expansion and are equipped with high-output nuclear reactors. Their power is several times stronger than our other weapons. But more than anything, they individually have the ether ring barrier, which is the heart of the city's defense. It is no wonder they are considered to be the strongest. However, that is a thing of the past. The bionoids that I have created have the flexibility of living beings. See, as evidence. As Fyodora talked with a look of ecstasy, the fallen Kristoff began to rise from the floor. It left only the important organs, the rest were absorbed and broken down and then rebuilt. It still looked like Kristoff, but the insides were completely different. However, the memories and skills, everything about Kristoff had been replicated completely. No. The aging face of Kristoff had regained the features of his youth. The biological cells and memory cells that do not age were able to read Kristoff's genetic information and recreate it. It was not his current age, but a younger face that was full of the power of his best days. It would seem that such appearances had little meaning for a cyborg, but that was not the case. Degradation of the brain, ability to make decisions, recognition, and reaction speeds would occur. Such weaknesses were now gone, and Kristoff had been reborn as the strongest bionoid. But he no longer had a heart. His will was to obey Fyodora. Greetings, Father. I am Kristoff, your shield, and your sword. I await your orders. And like that, the most terrifying bionoid was born. Emperor Omsbine was too shocked to speak. His most trusted friend had died in front of his eyes. And on top of that, he had been reborn as the most dangerous of enemies. It was no wonder that he was at a loss. No, and Alvin. The Emperor finally realized that Alvin had not betrayed him, but had been remade in secret. It was obvious, considering he had regenerated a head that had been destroyed. Yes, that is very perceptive of you. He refused to help me, so I had no choice. Bastard. Ha ha ha. Didn't I tell you? This is all because you continued to hide the Mobius system. That would solve all our energy problems. With that power, we wouldn't have to wait for the results of these sluggish experiments. We can purify this world. I told you that. Silence. I have no intention of following your slow plans. Exactly. Brother, I agree with what Fyodora is saying. I do not want to be the emperor of such a wretched world. I want to rule a planet that is beautiful. And so our aims matched, and I agreed to help. You can die in peace and leave the rest to me. Amit surrendered to his evil desires and stared at the Emperor. Kristoff and Alvin, the two bionoids, watched on in silence. Fyodora watched this with the conviction that his ambitions were halfway to completion. The time had come. One part of the plan that had been carried out in secret had now been achieved. These four had been modified by the Emperor himself. They were the finest works from the mind of a genius. As the old emperor could not replicate them, they could be called a lost art. And so it had been necessary for Fyodora to develop technology that could go against them. And he had done it. Human experiments had been carried out in secret and data was collected. And finally, Fyodora succeeded in his life form modification experiments. He implemented it on himself 1 month ago. Things moved quickly after that. Amit had secretly agreed to help him. They lured Alvin and then killed him. And then he was reborn as their greatest pawn, a bionoid. And now, their biggest obstacle, Kristoff, was in their hands. Michel was the last person in their way. As for the clown who only had his position because he was the Emperor's younger brother, he could be dealt with at any time. Ha 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 ha. Brother, this is goodbye. Leave the rest to. Kristoff's fist slammed into the fool's head, destroying it in a flash. Fyodora nodded with satisfaction before preying on the body. And by doing that, he himself was recreated into the strongest being. The special lost arts of the Emperor were now combined with the fruits of his research. And with that, The old body of Prime Minister Fyodora also transformed into a youth with black hair. Fyodora, you. The Emperor muttered in shock. Fyodora looked at him with a surprisingly gentle expression. Your Majesty, no, Senior L. You really weren't fit to be Emperor. I will do the rest for you. But I just need to take your knowledge. And with that, Fyodora granted Emperor Omsbine eternal rest. That was the end of a man who had ruled an empire for 100 years. Now, it seems that Michelle really has hidden the Mobius system. I am glad that the plan succeeded, but it's annoying that we have more work to do. Still. Then Fyodora looked at Jejil. We have bait. I can use this thing to get her without any difficulty. He said with an evil laugh. And no. Stop. And then Jejil's consciousness was swallowed by shadows. Her wish was in vain. She would also be reborn as a bionoid. Become a pawn for Fyodora, stripped of free will. And like that, his plans went to their final phase. 5 days had passed since Feldora and the others arrived in this world. The sounds of something sizzling as it cooked echoed. That should be enough to predict who it was. Feldora. Feldora was cooking again. This time there was meat on his grill. Hey you. You. What is wrong with you? And the person who was shouting was also easy to guess. Zaza. He had been with the rear guard, but the moment they stopped to set up camp, he had been met with a sight that caused him to scream in abandon. Ka ha ha ha. You're late, Zaza. We've already started, you know? But don't worry. I saved some for you. Feldora said with a smile. Obviously, this was his way of bullying him. He liked to tease Zaza, who could not eat. Stop this at once. In the first place, problems always seem to arise whenever you start cooking. It's almost as if that grill is cursed. How rude. I had this grill prepared for making snacks. It is by no means a haunted item. That's right, Zaza. Master's grill is a normal grill. But then again, saying that could raise a flag. Kahahaha. Don't say that, Ramaris. What will you do if something really does happen? That's true, Master. I will be careful. Yes. You should do that. Zaza couldn't stay angry while these two talked. He finally regained his calm and asked the biggest question that was on his mind. This is such a dirty place. How did you even? Zaza said that much before suddenly freezing. He had been so angry that it had escaped him at first, but he now realized that the sight before him was incredibly strange. After separating with Michelle, they had gone down an underground passage that led to the surface. This was so they could head to a different hideout that Michelle had prepared for them. As they were nearly 1,000 people in all, progress was slow. And the journey would have been hard even without factoring that in. This was because they had to gather protective suits that were left at different bases along the underground passage, and everyone had to wear them. They were like astronaut suits in structure, and supplied the wearer with enough nutrition and water to survive for a week without taking them off. But while there was some mechanical aid, the suit was still heavy and a burden on the wearer. It was one thing for adults to wear them, but it was very hard for children. After some time, there were some people who started to get sick, and so it had become necessary to stop and rest. You couldn't even eat with the suits on. While they did offer nutrition, that just meant drinking liquid food from a straw. You could not eat the meat that Feldora was cooking unless you removed the suit. And this was the surface. The atmosphere was polluted by radiation and toxic gases. Taking the suits off here was the same thing as committing suicide. Only a crazy person would start cooking meat here. And yet, right in front of Zaza's eyes, children were happily eating cooked meat and vegetables. What the hell is happening? Zaza could only watch in shock. While it may be hard to believe, Zaza, this area here isn't polluted for some reason. Carmen, who was also part of the rear guard and also very surprised, said as he reported the substance analysis results. In surprise, Zaza asked Rindo, the captain of the advance team. Alright Rindo. What's going on here? Ah, this. It really tastes amazing. You idiot. That's not what I was asking. Haha. Mr. Zaza. I am only joking. Well, Mr. Feldora suddenly said, if we're going to have a picnic, let's make it a barbecue. The weather's great for it. So it was him after all? Yes. But I thought it was odd that he would say that about the weather. Just then, Zaza realized that it was oddly bright around where they were. As his vision was seen through mechanical eyes, it had taken him a while to notice it. But in fact, the place was filled with a light he had not seen in years. In other words, it was sunlight that shone down on them. Can it be the sun? Zaza looked up in surprise. There was a light that shone so bright that it was blinding. It was the sun. The sun should have been covered by thick clouds, but now it was showing its face. The truth was that Feldera had used his power to blow away the clouds and purify the atmosphere in this area. After that, he had used probability manipulation to adjust things so that more pollutants wouldn't fly towards them. It was an incredible thing to do so casually, but only Ramaris and Beretta knew of it. I can't believe it. The sun. The environment here is not normal, and Zaza was stunned. However, Rindo spoke to him calmly. There's no point in thinking about it. According to Mr. Feldera, we're lucky. Such a thing can happen with enough amazing probabilities overlapping. He had said it with a smile. That's ridiculous. Zaza screamed inwardly. However, the reality was that this place was safe, and everyone had taken their suits off and were enjoying the barbecue. As Rindo said, it was stupid to worry so much about it. And so Zaza returned to Feldera. With no purpose in particular, he sat down on a rock and watched Feldera work. He looked so happy as he cooked the meat, which had unknown origins, on his trusty grill. Carmen came down to sit next to Zaza and then offered him one of his cigars. Thank you. It's nothing. Zaza, I've been thinking. That guy is probably a lot greater than we've assumed. I think so too. I don't want to admit it, but his boundless cheerfulness has saved us. However, it pains me to see things that way. After all, he's also quite the troublemaker. That's true. Even when General Michel came, he started frying pancakes on his grill. Right? And this meat? Where did he get it from? The more I think about him, the more mysterious he seems. I don't even know how to talk to him anymore. Ha ha ha. But he doesn't seem like a bad fellow. However, flags, was it? I would not be surprised if something happens again. Hey, stop that, Carmen. Everyone's out here without their suits on. We wouldn't be able to deal with any trouble. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more content.